like I've got your bio, my half-ass bio up here. This isn't a half. It's such a like you need to write a bio up here.
Oh, you know what?
All right, we got about 1 more minute and we'll get ready to get started. We've got a packed day. We're just going to see if we got anybody else that's straggling in late. Is it recording? Perfect. And we just go ahead. Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Hey guys, it's Miles Smith. Check out my song Gold
Okay,
on
good
YouTube
morning.
and YouTube Shorts, your one-stop shop.
How's everybody doing today? Last day of the Institute. Thank you so much for coming. Wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. Here I'm gonna do. There's a tab on there that has that music playing. Our fun jazz music is playing. Yep. Yes, that's what you like that. Yeah, we'll just close that tab out. Well, that's okay. It's under the S. Yeah, that one. That's the. And we'll do the window here. The first one on the left, right here. Up. There you go. Share that one, and share, and then close out just go up there where that tab is, and there. Gotta love Zoom sometimes. I was trying to play uplifting music for a reason. It's the one to the right. Next one, right there. Close that one out. Yeah, that's perfect. You like the vibe? We're trying to create that nice mood and environment because it's been a difficult week. Yes.
Yes, it's been soul-crushing, but importantly.
Soul-crushing, but importantly so. That's always. I was going to say that's good, but I'm glad that there's some weight with that. Okay, if everyone have eyes up front for just 1 second before y'all go through everything on our activities, just make sure. The first activity is really brief, but it's important because one of the first things that's listed out as pedagogical practice for teaching the Holocaust, and this is for everyone. You remember we asked yesterday, what was your why? Why are you here? But also, why are you teaching the Holocaust? Well, you also have to define the term the Holocaust. What was the Holocaust? And these are 3 of the major institutions and their definitions, which many people regard as the definition of the Holocaust. If you look down here, and this is actually the Imperial War Museum, Yad Vashem, and the United States Holocaust Memorial museum. These are the three institutions that are regarded as the defining institutions for the term or what we regard as the Holocaust. Not always just the meaning, and I think it's important to even discuss the meaning, the actual definition, the literal definition of Holocaust, where its etymology comes from, and also then what are the issues with the word, and then looking at the definition and how it's changed based off the institution. So here, for those of you who are online, or those of you who do not have, everyone in person has the handout. There's one is the definitions. Everyone here has the handout, everyone online. I've got this on the screen to show you, so that way you can see under the session, if you scroll up, you'll see activity. You're gonna actually review the definitions of the Holocaust from three institutions. I would like you to then click on the Padlet link, and I'm gonna post the QR code up here in a second, where what you're gonna do is then you're gonna put in your similarities, your differences, and kind of why do you think they're different? What makes the, why the difference under your answers? Are we good with that? Does anyone online have any questions? Except for John, who's posting something totally separate. I am gonna call everyone up, I would like to ask everyone real quick, and this is not me calling out John, but just because we're in each session, especially when the community boards are proposing random things, like set up your topics within the community boards. When we're in the sessions, in the chats, please keep the chats in line with exactly what we're talking about, because I've had people online who are also very confused by the multiple threads that are coming out, especially. I appreciate all the sharing. But one of the biggest obstacles in Holocaust education is not that there aren't any resources, is that there's too many to sift through. And we have many educators who are all trying to figure this out and try to navigate this. So bombarding everyone with 1,000 resources might be overwhelming. That's why we want to partition them out into sections as to what they need specifically based off of their grade level, based off of the class they're teaching. These things, we have to strand this out appropriately. It just gets a little overwhelming. So do me a favor, if y'all could please stick to that. Also, one last housekeeping tip. I put you all in groups, right? Okay. What's the worst thing about working in groups? And anyone online, feel free to post under here, and this will count as something we're talking about. What's the worst thing about working in groups? Participation is one. Takes longer. What else? One person doing all the work. Yes, that's just so you know, that's the biggest student complaint that I've ever gotten, is one person doing all the work. What about also, what about group dynamics? So, oh my goodness, no, I can't join that group. Okay, here's another one. If people don't show up. So real quick, in your group, if you're a stronger personality, be mindful of other people in your group. We are quite literally, everybody? My ADD's kicking in. We are teaching skills like empathy, compassion, community building in part of these lessons. If you're overpowering somebody with your thoughts and bulldozing through, be mindful of that. Step back outside of yourself, because that might be how you teach. Just say, be mindful of it. Remember our session that we had with Dr. Cushman, and everyone's talking about, we have to step outside of ourselves to be more observant of how we teach and how our students are going to be interacting with us on a regular basis. Self-reflection is huge. If you think you've got it all figured out, just so you know, every day I self-reflect on how many things I don't have figured out. Every single day. So it's just a suggestion, but be mindful of that, because I popped into a few conversations online as well, where I know there are dominant voices. This does not mean speak up, but if you're a dominant voice, what can you do to include other people? Ask them, ask questions. Yes, Joshua.
If you can't ask questions, you can ask for feedback. So if you make something, you can be like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, where do you want to go with this?
Yeah. Now, I know we called this the activity you guys are working on, a curriculum writing sprint. Randy? What we call this a curriculum writing sprint, so there are things we're working on quickly, but does that mean you have to leave everyone else behind? Okay, this is just an observation, consideration. I want you to go ahead, and I'm going to put the Padlet link up. Go ahead and review the definitions, and I'd like you to put your answers. I'm going to put the Padlet link up right now. Those of you, you actually have it here in this spot here, but also we're going to post the define up there. There we go, perfect. And then do me a favor on the share, click get QR code. Oh. Is it not? There we go. There's the QR code. And we'll get started on the activity. We're going to give you guys about 10 minutes to review and to post. Was I being a dumb? Was I making you feel like you couldn't ask a question? I apologize, Randy. Oh my goodness. The definitions is from Yad Vashem, one's from the Imperial War Museum, and one is from the United States Holocaust Memorial.
No. Lo que es que bolsa
I don't know if it's just on my end, but we've lost the camera for the main room, and if there's any, oh, okay, never mind.
And also, what I'd like you to do is also comment on somebody else's definition, providing, and if you want to provide what you think are your own clarifications, I believe it should allow you for, oh, this might not be set up for comment. That's okay. We're gonna actually have you have a discussion in just a second. You can put, yeah, that'd be fine. Well, I hate thumbs down. It seems so not, yeah, it seems a little passive, yeah, it's a little passive aggressive. Now, like, we're not in a passive aggressive group, are we? No, not at all. Somebody's got theirs in bold. Who's still working? Everyone's done? Okay. What I'd like you guys to do is actually discuss at your table for a minute, because I don't want to just have everyone hands out, but I'd like you to have some conversations just for a minute about what your thoughts are on these similarities and differences, and basically some of the things that you see on this board, and kind of your why for your, if you have a rationale for why you think they're different, or what that might look like to you as far as defining the Holocaust as a definition, and how you share it in your class, and why is it important to understand what the Holocaust means. And Kayla, if you could put everyone into a big breakout group, just big breakout group. I think we're going to put, she's gonna put it, I've got to, just don't join theirs. You have to join theirs. That's okay. Yeah, you want to join them, they'll just, see if you can leave it, yeah. I've got somebody in the back who will put them in the breakout groups. Steve, you're going to need to get into, make sure you're in a group. Kayla, make sure to put everybody in a group that's not in. See if you can force this person into a group. Like I think there's a thing on the group. You can put her in there. Yeah, and just put her in the main group. Because some people don't know how to join.
For those of you online, anybody who hasn't joined the breakout room, you have been assigned to the breakout room, but you guys have to click join.
Okay, we have about 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Okay, everybody. We're going to head, let's end the breakout sessions. We're going to come back. Circle back, please. And so a couple things. I'm going to get ready to introduce our speaker and have her finish this session. But one thing I want to provide you in the links that were in your description, there is a lesson plan that accompanies this that actually describes it, talks about how to parse it out, and some of the questions to ask, which, again, some of them are, looking at the terms like, I need my glasses again. Why might people object to the term Holocaust? Why might people prefer the term Shoah? Why is it important to properly understand the terms? These are questions that we need to consider. But with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Nikki Friedman. Nikki is actually, and I'll say Nicole, I get to call her Nikki. She is the Director of Education at the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Miami Beach. I want to call it a museum, it's its own. She received her PhD in Modern European History from the Ohio State University. Her dissertation examined Jewish children's experiences in Poland after the Holocaust. So the person who's speaking to you today about Life in DP camps, there's no one better and no more expert. So please give her a warm round of applause, Dr. Nikki Freeman. And I'm going to let her continue the rest of this little session.
Thank you so much, Stephen. First of all, I want to thank you, Stephen. It's so nice to be back here, and it's nice to see some familiar faces. I was here last summer, so it means I did okay. So I'm happy to be back, and I hope I can come back next year. And I also just want to take a moment to thank you all for being here and spending your time. I know school just ended, and there's a million other things that we all could be doing, but it really means a lot, I know, to me and to Stephen and to your students, for you to devote your time and energy into this important topic. And thank you to Stephen and my colleagues here, because it's so nice to have an organization that's so collaborative and wants to work together to help educate teachers like yourselves. So we're going to be going over the definitions that we have here from the Imperial War Museum, Yad Vashem, and USHMM. So what were some differences that we saw between the three definitions? Yeah.
The Imperial War Museum, it doesn't mention Germany at all, which we thought was very interesting.
Interesting. I
Yad
also didn't
Vashem
notice
and
that.
the U.S. Holocaust Museum mention specifically Germany. Like, they mention the Nazis, but they don't say Germany. And also, what else was it? There was something else, but that was really the one that I think was really shocking to me, that it doesn't mention what country was behind all this, because, I mean, I feel like that's very...
That's super interesting. I didn't notice that either until you pointed that out. And I think that's very important for us to remember, right? Words matter, and we have to be precise when we're talking about the Holocaust and the events that happened, and avoid passive language. It's important to put responsibility where responsibility is. And I think there's also a difference that we should remember. We can't necessarily use Nazis and Germans interchangeably. So we want to be careful about that. What are some other differences? Yeah.
Hold on, Sasha, just a second. So everyone online can...
Thank you. I noticed in the Imperial War Museum definition, it was the only one that says about the methods for mass extermination, saying industrial methods. The others focus on the fact that the extermination happened, but that one said industrial methods, which I thought was kind of strange to point that out.
Yeah. Why do you think they pointed that out and the other definitions didn't? Any
Honestly,
ideas?
I'd love for you to tell me, because I thought it was weird.
So my gut is because the Holocaust was the first mass industrialized murder, genocide of its kind. So I have a feeling that they included industrialized because that's what we saw in the concentration camps and the death camps. But we also know that there was a transition, right? It didn't start with the death camps. It was a gradual process of dehumanization, and then Holocaust by bullets, and then we eventually see the gas chambers. So, yeah.
The sentence that she's talking about begins for the first time in history.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that in actuality, it's a reference to the fact that this isn't new in history, but it's the first time in a modern industrialized nation that they've used the mechanisms they have and the methods they have to do what they did.
Absolutely. That's a great point. What other differences? Yeah, back there. Okay. No. Prisoner of conscience. Where is that? In pacifist, someone who didn't want to participate in the war. Great question. Yeah. There's a big one, a big difference.
I realized there was one. Yad Vashem is the only one that mentions Hitler by name,
Okay.
whereas the other two, again, like, don't mention it at all. So that
Very
was kind of
interesting.
in
Again,
league with the
talking
other
about
one.
responsibility. What's another big difference that we see here? Yeah.
While all three recognize that the Jews were the primary and targeted group, the Imperial War Museum and the U.S. Holocaust Memorial name and validate that other groups were targeted, whereas Yad Vashem can be read as minimalizing how much the others were targeted.
Yeah. So why do we think of the three institutions, Yad Vashem would focus mostly on the Jewish victims of the Holocaust? What do we know about Yad Vashem? It's in Israel. It's a Jewish institution, right? But it is important to note that there were other victims of the Nazi genocide. But there's a saying, not all victims of the Holocaust were Jews. Wait, but all Jews were victims of the Holocaust. I got that mixed up.
Well, you know, that's the discussion comes up, and we have this discussion and talking about planning for the new museum, is there's victims of Nazi atrocities and victims of genocide with the intention that they were all, just like even the planning, even discussing, you know, what happened as the Holocaust, was that always intended to, you know, was it always planned exactly in the same way? We have that discussion all the time. Was it always intentional, and did it evolve over time? And it evolved over time, but it's like Nazi atrocities and what groups were targeted. Actually, you've seen some of the translations where they say, talk about Jews and Roma and Sinti were targeted because of why? Yeah, the one said Roma and Sinti because gypsies is the slur. But why were they targeted? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they're gypsies. But these were. Was it racial or was it something else? But they were deemed as inferior because of impure. It was a racial. As just like Jews, you couldn't. Just like you heard Peter Feigel's story. Peter converted. Right. Peter was baptized. Did that matter? And Jews were targeted for, you know, I don't like the term, but extermination, for removal completely. And there is a distinction, and that's what the argument is over and how you include the other groups under the umbrella of the Holocaust, and how these groups and how these different definitions also parse those things out, because it's not 100% agreed upon in how that definition is parsed out.
What religion did Peter end up with?
Peter will actually tell you that he's not religious at all anymore. Yeah, Peter actually, he said as he looks back, he'll tell you that he's agnostic. Yeah. Anybody else want to contribute to this conversation? And I'm going to let Nikki go on.
Are we good?
Yeah,
Keep
we're
going?
good. Yeah, I just throw it out there.
Stephen,
That's good. I was just going to say, is the activity, can I start my presentation?
So I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable. Also looking at, there's a lot of information within the activity packet in the section 3, and I think everyone else here had a handout that kind of goes through a lot of the definitions. Why use the term Shoah over Holocaust? What is Shoah? Does anyone know the definition of Shoah? And I know there are at least 3 people here who know the definition of the term Shoah.
Catastrophe.
Catastrophe. What's the etymology of the word of Holocaust? Literally burn. Why one over the other? I mean, why might one prefer one term over the other as far as, you know, how it describes what happened?
Because the Jewish community was not completely burnt. They weren't completely destroyed. They were harmed, they were hurt, they were murdered, but the community was not wiped out.
And initially, gas chambers were not the first method of execution. So they were shot and then put into mass graves. So crematoriums weren't used initially.
Yeah, I think we jump right into the crematoria and we jump right into the burning of bodies and whatnot. But I mean, we forget about the whole section of Holocaust by bullets, also death within the ghettos and everything that happened prior to. Did you want anything? I got Holly's. Yeah, I'm going to come back to you.
Also, sometimes the idea of sacrifice implies something voluntary, and there was absolutely nothing voluntary about this.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
I think that's okay. And okay, yeah. I think, and just so you know, it's always one of those, because you know, people always ask, and students ask this question. So also, why is it important to define the term first? And this is before you start any Holocaust lesson. This is not, for those of you who say you can't use this, you shouldn't be teaching a Holocaust lesson until you've done this. Period. You should start out with, I don't care what the lesson is. You're going to teach the Diary of Anne Frank, define the Holocaust. You're going to teach Night, define the Holocaust. If you're unfortunately going to read the Boy in the Striped Pajamas, define the Holocaust. Take your, yeah, exactly, yes. And for those of you online that don't, if you'd like to talk to anybody online, if you want to have a conversation about the boy in the striped pajamas, feel free to. Anybody else would like to please post as to why it's a piece of literature, period. That is historic. Thank you. I can't talk somebody out of buying it. I appreciate it. So with that, we've eaten into the time. If we could please, we're going to stop the recording. We're actually going to stop it because we're going to restart it again for a separate section because we have